Hello everyone and welcome back! In the last few lessons we have seen a possible attack scenario where the session ID cookie is being stolen. That was via a cross-site scripting attack. Depending on the application, that attack might be quite hard and even impossible to perform, so a much more common way of getting your session ID stolen is via a network level attack. The most common way of doing that is if you are the target of a man-in-the-middle attack. Let's say that, for example, you are on a cyber cafe and the owner has malicious intents and he is currently sniffing all the network traffic that goes between any workstation and any server. If you are accessing an application using plain HTTP, all that the attacker would have to do is to sniff the HTTP traffic and simply steal the session cookie. In order to avoid that, we have here this extra flag secure. That means that if a cookie is marked as secure, then the cookie will only be sent over an HTTPS connection and not a plain HTTP connection. So that is another very useful protective measure that makes the cookie much harder to steal by a potential attacker. Let's see how the secure flag works in practice. We are going to switch over here to our server and we are going to mark this cookie not only as being HTTP only, but we are also going to set the secure property to true. Now, this would cause a slight problem because our Angular CLI server that we are running here is running under plain HTTP. So we are going to make a small change, which is we will have to run our application completely in HTTPS. So if you remember, the Angular CLI server is currently proxying the requests from the browser to the API server if the requests start in /API. So we have here this configuration that says that any request starting with this prefix is going to go to this HTTPS server. So this is already a good start. The API server runs HTTPS. Now, in order to run also the Angular CLI server in HTTPS mode, we're going to go over here to our package.json and we're going to see that we have here a couple of extra CLI options that we can pass to the Angular CLI that will also start the Angular CLI in HTTPS mode. So we will have a complete HTTPS chain from the server and until the REST API server. We're going to take these properties here and we're going to paste them here to the start script. Now at this point we are going to have to stop the Angular CLI server and we are going to have to restart it in order for these new properties to get applied. And once we do that, if we now head over to the browser and we refresh the plain HTTP connection that we had here, this is going to say that the server is not available. And that's normal because we are now running the server in HTTPS mode. So if we want to see the new server, we are going to have to type here in the URL bar HTTPS at the beginning. Let's see what happens if we start this as HTTPS. We're going to have here a warning at the level of the browser. It's going to say that your connection is not private. So this warning is being shown because the certificate that we are using in this server is not recognized by the Google Chrome browser. And that's normal because it's a self-signed certificate. It's not a certificate signed by a certificate authority that is recognized and registered in the Chrome web browser. So we are going to click here the advanced options and we are going to select proceed to localhost. We're going to have here this warning saying not secure, but we can now access the application just like before. And with this in place, let's see if we still have here the session ID cookie. We can see that the cookie is not present. That's because the cookies that we were seeing before were HTTP only cookies, and these are the cookies associated to the HTTPS connection. So let's quickly create a new user and see the new cookie in action. We are going to hit sign up, and as we do that, we have here a sign up AJAX request with status 200. We have here the cookies on the response. So as we can see, the session ID cookie has been set. It's both a HTTP only cookie and a secure cookie, meaning that this cookie will never be sent over via a non-secure connection. And that's what we were looking for. So at the server side, we have established the session and we have set the cookie with the correct properties. In order to give the session ID maximum protection by the browser, let's now switch back to the client side and continue our authentication implementation. Let's see how can we secure the lessons data. We want to show this data only if the user is authenticated.